My name is Tom Namey. I have a testimony that I would like to share with you. At one time in my life, God was chasing me. And now, I'm chasing God. I want to tell you this. In my testimony, I get a little emotional because I've been through the mountains and the valleys. I've been hurt. But you know, when everything else fails in life, Jesus always shows up. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging about myself, but I don't want to sound like I achieved anything on my own. For all the glory belongs to God and Him alone. In the book of Isaiah 42:8, it says, "For God shares no glory with no man." As a young kid, I could hear the Lord calling me. Back in '67, I used to serve as an altar boy in church. That little small church on Hamilton. Chaldeans were few back then. I started working in a small potty store downtown Detroit. And I had it kind of rough. I had to fight my way through life every day. People were not kind to me, especially in a small black neighborhood. When I grew up and I had to make deliveries blocks away, and all the kids wanted a piece of me, so I learned to fight and I became mean. I became vicious. And then in high school I started to wrestle, and then I took up karate. And I became I had a mean streak in me. I became a little bitter. Always stepped up to the plate and never backed away from nobody. And I thought I had to prove myself every call. Well, later on in years, I started my first business with my brothers. I was about 17 years old. About 19 to 20, I did real well. About 24, I accumulated a lot of wealth. I owned a few businesses, and I overinvested. When I was about 24, 25 years old, I lost it all. And I decided that I was going to come back and make it again no matter what. I recall when I was a young boy, my dad used to come home from work. He had frost on his mustache and his eyelashes. And I knew no matter what, I was never going to ask that man to help me financially. Anyway, make long story short, I got married and I had 4 children. And I was a good businessman. And all I wanted to do was be a good husband and a good father. At a young age, I became a little arrogant. And I opened up one business after another. I opened up a big wholesale produce company. And then I opened up a big supermarket. And one day, some new competition came down the street and bought the store next to me and built a store there. Well, I didn't mind so much of that. But then there was some talk back and forth, this and that. And one day, we hired this one woman to work in our fish department. And only to find out that their butcher had sent her to come and work for us. So when I got there, my brother told me, he said, "You know, these people sent this woman to work here, but she's telling our customers not to shop in our store." I said, "You gotta be kidding." He goes, "No, if you don't believe me, she's working over there right now." I said, "Well, I'm gonna have to find out and go over there." I went over there and I'm looking at the store. I'm looking in the meat department, trying to see if there's, and one of the oldest brother came up and he said, "What's going on, man?" And I said to him, "If you guys want to do business like business, men, we can do that. But if you guys want to play games, we can all play games. So he snatched me by my arm, by my wrist, and I said, get your hands off my wrist. I'm talking to you. Don't put your hands on me. So he said, well, what's the problem? And we went through it, and I told him. And then the next thing, he put his hand on my throat. He said, you don't come in my store and tell me what to do. And that's when I dropped him. I hit him so hard, the poor guy went flying about 4 yards away. And as soon as I hit him, I seen in the corner of my eye there was another guy running toward me. I dropped him so fast, by the time I turned around, I could see about 8 guys jumping off the meat counter. The first one who put his hand on my shoulder got a drop kick from behind and a fist in his forehead. And before you know it, I was fighting about 15, 16, 20 people in that store. It turned to one ugly mess. The store was evacuated. People were screaming in the aisles, and it was like a madhouse. So anyway, I left the store and I told the guys, I said, you don't know who you're messing with. I will be your worst nightmare. I said, if you want some of me, you're going to get a lot of me. You're going to get more than you bargained for. So one day, the 3rd of July is one of the busiest days in the year. I got 26 of my boys, and these boys were big and they were heavy. I told them, I said, listen, I got jumped for about 8 or 10 guys from the meat department. Make sure nobody walks out of that store. Everybody got to get smashed. So my boys go in the store, and a big fight erupts. And people were being dragged in the aisles, kicked and beat and knocked out. Checkouts were being thrown down, displays were thrown down, $70,000 worth of damage. And everybody was running and they thought there was a riot going on. And then we thought, now they know who the big dog is. Now they know they're not going to mess with me no more. Well, their cousin was my friend. And a big meeting was going on at the club about the situation, and the important people of the community, the top elders of the community, decided to get together, and they were going to make plans what to do. Anyway, their cousin called me up the next day and he said, look, my cousins are not doing good. A couple of them are in the hospital. Some of them are hurt really bad. We need to put an end to this. I said, okay. There's no problem. We'll put an end to this. I want peace. They want peace. That's fine with me. Well, we had a peace treaty that lasted only about a couple of weeks. Couple of weeks go by and I get a phone call, and it's one of them, and he's yelling and screaming on the phone about how they're going to tear me up. I said, well, I'm glad to see you guys are brave again. You didn't have enough, I got something for you. So I got a couple of boys and we went down there at night. It was about 3 in the morning. I always left the club late at night, and I had a truck full of gasoline and Markelov cocktail. We broke the doors, we went in, firebombed the whole place and went home. Well, the fire department came, the arson squad came in. Everybody was investigating the situation and they wanted to know where I was, and I had an alibi. I was at the club till 4 in the morning. Well, that lasted for a while. Their cousin came in and says, come on, they're going to collect from the insurance company. Let's have peace. I said, all right. Peace it is. Peace is always good. So that only lasted a little while. They rebuilt the store and they started talking garbage again. I get phone calls and threats. I said, okay. So now I send him a roofer during the day, about 4 o'clock. And he puts a light on the wall, and he pours out gasoline over the whole roof of the store, and he sets it on fire.